Hi, this is Jolly Rancher and Kneecaps. Today we're going to go over the gear that I was using on my Appalachian Trail through hike during the summer 2009. Clothes. Okay, so now we're going to talk about clothes and the clothing system that I used on the trail. So basically what I had was my hiking clothes, my rainwear, and my camp clothes. Okay? So what I used to hike was, I started out with these EMS zip-off canvas pants. These particular ones, I don't have the weight on these, but they're normal khaki canvas pants you can find at any outfitter, and they are zip-off, so you can convert them from pants to shorts when the weather gets hot. What I found with these was, after less than a week on the trail, I sent home the pant bits because I found that for the most part I was hiking with just the shorts, and so this became extraneous weight. What I decided after that was why I asked myself why I was wearing shorts that had half a zipper on the bottom of them, which was adding a couple ounces to each leg. So what I ended up switching to was just normal athletic shorts, which I felt comfortable hiking in February with just shorts. You can always throw a pair of long underwear underneath it to make sure your legs are staying warm if it is very cold out. You can also wear rain pants over top if you are hiking in the rain and feel more comfortable with that. So overall, I wouldn't recommend zip-off pants. I would recommend athletic shorts. As long as they're synthetic material, so they dry quickly and they're lightweight, that's what you need to go with. Okay, so that's pants. Underwear, don't need it. That's the end of that discussion. Shirt. Here is the shirt that I wore. This is the Columbia Silver Ridge long sleeve shirt. It's a synthetic shirt. It's very lightweight, and it has some nice wicking material on the inside so you don't get too sweaty, or at least it wicks the sweat away from you. Has some nice armpit holes there as well. I preferred the long sleeve shirt, but I also liked how it can roll up to be a short sleeve shirt. That's just a personal preference for me. You might want to wear a short sleeve shirt, that's up to you. But again, make sure that it's lightweight, synthetic material, dries quickly. The other thing about this shirt is it does give you some UV protection, which isn't all that important on the AT because most of the time you're under tree cover. But if you're hiking other trails that are more exposed to the sun, then that might be a consideration. Okay, so that's that. Let's see here. All right, rain gear. So for rain gear, I used, this is the North Face Venture jacket. It's 100% waterproof. It's very thin and lightweight. It's just a simple, no frills attached, waterproof North Face jacket. It has two pockets for your hands. It has no other pockets at all. It has a good hood, and it has armpit vents. That's pretty much the entire jacket in a nutshell.
Gore-Tex?
It is Gore-Tex, yep. Okay. I liked this. I think it worked well for me, but there are other options for rain jackets. There's a couple different brands that are called Frogg Toggs or DriDucks. Those are a much lighter material than the Gore-Tex, but they do rip easier. Generally, they kind of look like a Tyvek material. It's not as strong as Tyvek, but it is much lighter than that, and it usually is worn a little bulkier. I didn't use those, but I had many friends that recommended those and wore them every day. Let's see here. And then for pants, I started out with rain pants like this, just standard REI hiking rain pants that are 100% waterproof, Gore-Tex as well. What I found with these, though, is that when I was hiking along and generating heat, I could not vent at all with these at all. So I was sweating like crazy on my legs, and it was not comfortable at all. If I'm hiking in the rain, I just resolved myself to the fact that I was going to get wet. so I ended up sending these home after a couple weeks because they were just taking up room in my pack and I was not using them. Whether or not you carry a pair of rain pants is up to you. I personally can't do it, but I would recommend trying them out in the rain before you leave, just to make sure that you are going to use them. If not, it's not worth bringing them at all.
Poncho?
There are other options. You could wear a poncho. There's also a product called a paca, I believe, which is a poncho that goes over your backpack, which also saves you weight because you don't have to carry a pack cover at that point. I had one friend that used that and he looked like Darth Vader, but it worked really well for him. And I would recommend looking into that as well. Okay, other gear that you might be wearing while you're hiking is obviously a bandana. I wore a bandana on my head every single day on the trail. I didn't choose to wear a hat, I wore a bandana instead. But it's up to you, and you should always just have a bandana with you. There's millions of uses for a bandana, so I would definitely recommend bringing that. And also a fleece hat and fleece gloves. I brought those with me for the first couple months and ended up sending them home after the weather got warmer. But these are great, especially when you're hiking in snow, but also when you're sleeping in snowy weather. Okay, and fleece is obviously water repellent, and it will keep you dry and warm. Okay, so those are what I wore when I was hiking. When you got into camp, the most important thing about my clothing system was that I had a set of hiking clothes and a set of camp clothes, and those two clothing groups did not interchange at all. The most important thing is that you always have a dry set of clothes, which for me were my camp clothes. If I was hiking through the rain or snow or whatever, whenever I got into camp, I would take off my wet clothes and put on my dry clothes and get ready for bed. In the morning, I had to reverse that process, take off my dry clothes, put on my wet clothes, and hike again. But the most important thing is that you have a dry set of clothes for when you go to bed, okay? The most important piece of equipment that I had with me was this Montbell Thermawrap Synthetic jacket. This jacket is 9 ounces and costs $145. It was the best investment of my trip. It was the item that I used every single day. Whenever I got into camp, I put this on and it kept me warm. The good thing about it is it's synthetic. You can also get this in a down version. I would recommend synthetic because if it does get wet, you can still stay warm. And if you're walking around camp, you might get wet more often than your sleeping bag would get wet. But I would highly recommend this. I also had a pair of camp shoes when I started out, which were simply Walmart blue foam that I had molded into a flip-flop. I ended up not using them at all because I felt so comfortable in my shoes that I would just wear my shoes around camp as well. Some people find the need to change footwear when you get into camp. You can use any pair of flip-flops or Crocs work well, though they are a bit bulky. And also, of course, you want to have your polypropylene or merino wool long underwear. I started out my trip with 2 pairs. One pair was specifically for camp sleeping in. The other pair I would use if I was hiking and it was very cold. Eventually, when the weather warmed up, I sent home the hiking pair and just kept the sleeping pair. But as long as you always have to have one set of long underwear with you just to sleep in. So that's what this pair is for. And you can get lightweight or midweight. Heavyweight or a little too heavy for what you need, but the lightweight or the midweight would be fine. So these are polypropylene. The disadvantage of polypropylene is it does smell terribly after repeated use. Merino wool doesn't smell as much, but they are about the same in terms of weight, and they're synthetic materials, so they don't retain moisture. I would highly recommend sleep socks. I learned this as I was hiking along, so what I would do, I would carry 3 pairs of socks with me. 2 pairs I would alternate days hiking, and then the 3rd pair stayed at the bottom of my sleeping bag at all times. It never saw the light of day. It was just for when I was sleeping because your feet do tend to get cold when you're on the trail. And I would highly recommend that. It's worth the extra couple ounces just to have nice warm feet at the end of the day.